Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Protesters are taking to the streets in member states of the OECS, with Antigua following hard at the heels of St. Vincent and the Grenadines against mandatory vaccination. This story takes center stage in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 10th August 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Protesters took to the streets of St. John's in Antigua under the banner of the Freedom Fighters, which introduced a bit of chaos as law enforcers resorted to the use of tear gas to disperse the crowd. Raghib Aparicio of ABS News reports.
Tensions were high on Market Street on Sunday as over 100 protesters under the banner of the Freedom Fighters took to the streets for their voices to be heard. However, ABS understands protesters did not receive permission for the event. Officers donned in riot gear stood at the other end of the street. A stalemate began. Multiple warnings were issued: disperse or be tear gassed. With both sides refusing to give an inch, chaos quickly ensued. As the smoke from tear gas canisters blanketed the area, protesters were pushed further down Market Street, but not before returning fire with glass bottles and tossing the tear gas canisters back at the officers. They were pursued past Public Market to the bottom of Market Street. Placards were discarded as eyes filled with tears and breathing became difficult. Empty tear gas canisters littered the streets. Law enforcement slowly cordoned off the area, instructing everyone nearby to leave. When compliance was not forthcoming, force was used.
Just run your mouth, ma'am, and go back this way.
At least one man was taken into police custody. Raghib Aparicio reporting for ABS News.
In the meantime, ABS's Jessica Russell engaged the Commissioner of Police on the issue.
Joining us is Police Commissioner Atlee Rodney, who joins us this evening via telephone. Good evening, Commissioner Rodney.
Good evening to you and good evening to your listeners and viewers.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please explain the reasons the protesters were being asked to disperse.
Well, because we are a country of laws and order, and permission were requested for a march. Applications was made according to CAP 357, the Public Order Act. And based on the situation and in the interest of public health, public safety, public order, we denied permission for the march. We communicated that to the organizers. We had written communication to them, and we subsequently had verbal communication to them and explained the situation to them. However, they decided to defy the instructions, define the laws of Antigua and Barbuda, and still insisted on having a march in the city. And even having spoken to them several times and asked to disperse, they continue to disobey the law. And that is why we had to resort to disperse them, because they were breaking the law in the city of St. John.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Immediate former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Alan Chasteny, has finally broken his silence since the United Workers' Party was vanquished at the polls in 2021 general elections. Not surprisingly, his first interview came via UWP media on Friday morning. Chasteny, who doubled down on his style of governance, does not believe that the former government's policies are to blame for the election defeat. HTS's Joachim Duplessis reports.
Former Prime Minister Alan Chasteny took to the friendly airwaves of partisan UWP talk radio for his first interview since the party was demolished at the July 26, 2021 polls. During the interview on UWP Media, Tamiku South MP addressed a number of issues from the former government's policies to the defection of Stephenson King. The SLP won 13 seats with independent candidates. Stephenson King and Richard Frederick, who were also victorious, were appointed to the new SLP cabinet of ministers. Chasteny, who was appointed the leader of the opposition, continues to rebuff criticism that his style of governance led to the party's demise at the polls.
But you know, one of the things that you've said is this story that they were saying.
Yeah.
And let us look at the people who were saying it.
Yeah.
Richard Frederick.
Yes.
Even the same Stephenson King.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are they now?
That's the question.
Have they not been rewarded?
Yeah.
Were they saying it because they genuinely cared about this country? Or there was a plan all along?
Yeah.
You're telling me that Labour would have found it to put Richard Frederick not only in the cabinet, they put him in the Prime Minister's office?
Yeah.
Well, I wish them luck. Maybe they know something that we don't know.
Maybe.
Right? And hopefully it works for them. But let us see.
Let us see. Time will tell, right?
Time will tell.
The former Prime Minister has questioned the sincerity of Stephenson King and Richard Frederick.
Stephenson King, I know we did everything we could.
Yeah.
He clearly had a decision to make. But what I don't like is where he would try to suggest that he did it for the country and he was a patriot.
No.
That's not true. He did it for himself.
Amen.
Okay? And I think that it would have been more honest in his part to have said that I've reached a point with United Workers' Party that I cannot give it the level of commitment. And
I'm moving on.
And move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, because the party changed and he changed.
Mm-hmm.
These things happen all the time. But to malign the party, to demean people of this party on the basis of lies, I'm sorry.
For personal purposes.
Personal purpose. And this is where the fortitude within the party has to come.
Chasteny took subtle digs at Stephenson King throughout the show over his divorce from the party on the heels of the election. He also pushed back at the notion that the UWP has lost its way, standing by his attempts at building a new St. Lucia.
United Workers' Party is back stronger than it's ever been before. When I hear some people in some very high positions who were held in the highest esteem by United Workers' Party, who have not participated in one meeting since 2007.
No, I know some of them.
And would come and say they don't recognize the party. How can you recognize it?
You're never involved. You're not
involved.
Yeah.
The reality is the spirit of the party never changes. The people do.
Mm-hmm.
But the spirit doesn't. This party is as much, and it stands for the same things that Sir John did, that Alan Bousquet, J.B. Bousquet, all the persons that were the founders, Mallet, Henry Giraudy, what they started, the problems are different.
Mm-hmm.
The times are different.
Yeah.
Okay? And the party has to adapt. But the reality is the overall goal to see no suffering, to see people prosper, these values remain.
Tamiku South MP vows to be vigilant on the opposition benches.
When I'm in the House, I've had a long talk with Bradley.
Yeah.
Is to remember that we represent 37,400 people.
That's right.
Right? That's a huge part of the population of this country. And I don't want people to have the expectation that how the Labour Party performs in the House is what we're going to do. We are going to support the government in all the things that they do well. We will remain vigilant, and we will hold them accountable to the promises that they've made.
Shastny claims that nothing is going to change on the issue of projects started by the previous administration, despite the Friends, Family and Foreigners rhetoric. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
We are back to being a criminalized state and almost back to being a failed state. The opposition leader, Joseph Harmon, posited via an online political program, Politics 101, hosted by Dr. David Hines, on Thursday evening in Guyana. Wendell Badri of HTS News Force has some details.
Prior to the coalition coming to office, Professor Clive Thomas, co-leader of the WPA, characterized the state under the PPP as a criminalized state, in which he talked about the fusion of the criminal underworld and the state in Guyana. Are we back to the criminalized state?
David, we are back to a criminalized state, and we are back to almost being a failed state again.
Harmon was making his first appearance on the social media program when he made those comments in response to a question posed to him by the host of the show, Dr. David Hines. Harmon ventured on to say that the economy has done very poorly in the first half of this year, but that the effects are not being felt by the citizens because it is being propped up by illegitimate activities.
You will see how badly this economy has done in the first 6 months of this year. But it has now again been propped up by the funds and the proceeds from these illegal transactions and this deep-seated deep state that we are facing.
To support his point, the opposition leader pointed to some occurrences since the PPP administration took office, such as the world's largest drug bust in Belgium, which was shipped from Ghana in a container of scrap metal. He also pointed to a shipment of cocaine which was transported to Germany from Guyana in a shipment of rice. Both incidents occurred in 2020. Harmon also referenced the killings of Isaiah and Joel Henry as well as Harish Singh in 2020, the gunning down of Ricardo Fagundes in front of the Palm Courts nightclub, and more recently a daring robbery which occurred in bright daylight on a gold dealer in Gordon Street, Kitty. All these incidents Harmon has linked to the incumbent administration, positing that it is collaborating with the criminalized state of the country.
And it is that collaboration of the official state and the criminalized state that really has us in a situation where none of us can feel comfortable bringing up our children in a society like this, where gunmen are the order of the day.
Meanwhile, Harmon further pinned an allegation to the ruling party when he mentioned that it has never trusted neither the hierarchy of the Ghana Police Force nor the Ghana Defence Force. Hence, it is seeking to create its own parallel security force in relation to the regional support team.
I believe, apart from the fact that it's going to be a spy unit, I think it is also a unit that is meant to give a sort of protection to the regime.
Reporting for the HGP Nightly News, Wendell Badri.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.